It wouldn't be class day if the class clown wasn't here. Welcome to Gem Journey for October, everybody. I'm so happy to see you. Welcome in. Tonight's class, I'm really excited about tonight's class, and I'm going to tell you why. Tonight's class is a long time coming. Do you know, I actually thought about this class before I founded Sage Goddess because I used to go to a crystal shop in San Diego before SG. And I used to take my students there. I think I've told you this story before. I used to take my students. My students were adults. I taught graduate school. So after every class, the crystal shop in Old Town San Diego, where I used to teach, stayed open late. And so I used to say, hey, anybody who's hungry, we can go eat after class and then go to the crystal shop. And most of the students usually came. So we would do these little field trips. And so the crystal shop that I used to buy from had a little like Australian crystal display. And I remember feeling completely connected to all the stones that were there. And it was everything that you think of, right? Rainforest, rhyolite, jasper. They had some opals. We're going to talk about tonight. They had some sapphires because there's actually some pretty active sapphire mines in Australia. And so anyway, I got kind of hooked. And then before I founded Sage Goddess, after I was a professor, I think I've told you guys this story. I was a chief learning officer, which is some organizations have a CEO level executive who's charged with learning. So I was that person for a company based out of the U.S. East Coast for a few years after I was a professor, but before I founded Sage Goddess. I'm telling you all this because I landed a client account. So because I was based in San Francisco, I was charged with our Southern Hemisphere accounts because it was easier for me to get up and handle our clients in Australia and New Zealand than it was for my East Coast peeps because they were 3 hours behind. So I got assigned Australia. And I remember thinking this is really cool because I was told when I was hired, you would end up traveling to the countries you were assigned. And I'd always wanted to see Australia. My mom had gone to Australia. My mom had not traveled very much. She didn't like to fly, but she went to Australia. My brother took her on a trip. And again, so this is all leading up to this, like Athena's obsession with Australia. So I get the client, I land the account, I design their learning program. The client was Rio Tinto, which is one of the biggest mining companies in Australia. So you can see how this is getting more and more interesting for me, right? So I'm like, oh, well, I have to go to Australia to meet with Rio Tinto, and they said yes. So I ended up going 3 times to Australia too, because Rio Tinto is a huge company and they have offices on both coasts. So I went to Brisbane, I went to Queensland, and I went to Perth to their 3 different headquarters to meet with their executives. Now, my client, the project was diamond mining because Rio Tinto is the largest miner of diamonds in Australia, or they were at the time. And Australia is the only country in the world that yields the perfect pink diamond, like the one that Jennifer Affleck has, or Jennifer, what's her name? Jennifer Lopez. Her pink diamond is from Australia. So I actually got to go and I got to tour the mine. I got to tour the executive offices, and I got to meet with the miners. I got to hear all about it. I got to see and hold pink diamonds, like huge pink diamonds worth millions and millions and millions of dollars. And that was my favorite part of the job. I mean, it was fun to create a learning program for them, and it was fun to train their executives, but it was not fun to fly there. We have some beloveds in Australia too. Is Lena Lockhart here? If she's not, she'll probably watch the afterplay. You spent a month in Australia, Cynthia. So I would love to hear more about your experiences too, and what you thought about it, what you loved about it. Australia is one of the countries in the world where I could live and be very happy. Australia, Mexico falls into that category for me. Just places where like the culture, the people, the food, the pace of life, the way of life was very resonant for me. And I loved how close it was to Africa, because I thought if I ever came back, I would just make the hop across to Africa because it is relatively close, especially Perth and South Africa are kind of like, the east and west coasts of the United States kind of distance apart. So you could live there too. Super beautiful, right? Okay, you guys are chatting with each other, so that's not for me. If there's anything I need to see, seriously, please let me know. And it's good to see you, by the way. Okay, so I go through this whole experience. Love it. Right. I go back 3 times. It was 23 hours of flight time to get from San Francisco, Bay Area of California to Perth, Australia. So that was not fun. I heard all about the poisonous snakes. I never saw one, just so you know, and I stayed in 3 different cities for almost a month in total. So I never saw a poisonous snake. I think that does scare people off a little bit. The idea of like some snake attacking you on your vacation. But I will say it wouldn't keep me away from Australia. It was pretty amazing. And I got to fly over the Great Barrier Reef every time I left Australia to come home to California. So I would always request an aisle seat because I would just or a window seat, and I would just sit and watch the Great Barrier Reef, because you learn about the Great Barrier Reef in school. Nothing prepares you for the absolute majesty of it when you're flying over it. It's just like, oh my God. It was like flying over the Northern Lights when I was in Norway a few years ago. So anyway, I just wanted to tell you that Australia is a place to go. If you ever get a chance to go, I know it's a long ass flight, but so are a lot of other cool places. I just think Australia tops the list. It's beautiful. The people, there's a soul of the place that I'm trying to think of. I've traveled a lot. I'm trying to think of another place that kind of compares to it for me. There was just a genuine ethos of love, is the way I felt when I was in Australia. I didn't feel like I wasn't home, which is a really cool thing. And the whole time I was there, I mean, even the people we were working with and for would say, hey, come to our house tonight. We're cooking. Would love for you to meet my family. Like, just those kinds of things don't tend to happen on business trips. Happened in Mexico for me, happened in Australia for me. You got to snorkel in the Great Barrier Reef. So that takes my like, hey, I flew over it to a whole different level. I can't even imagine what the energy is like. I could feel the vibration of the reef from 30,000 feet, 60,000 feet, right? So yeah, it was super. There's a vibe there. It's very chill. It's very laid back. It's also very beautiful. You're walking in the middle of Brisbane, Australia, and there's like, you're in hustle bustle. There's a food court and there's little shops and all these things. And all of a sudden there's a botanical garden, like a huge one, just kind of off to your left. Like there's nature is celebrated and nature's integrated into the culture there. So tonight, my job, my pleasure, my joy. And by the way, I'm advising that if you have a crystal skull of any kind, any stone in your collection, in addition to the 2 stones for tonight, I'm offering you an invitation, because tonight's journey is super significant. It's based on some of the Aboriginal stories that I was told when I was in Australia. In Australia, the Aboriginal First Nations people have been working with crystals for thousands of years. And they believe that by drumming or by toning, that you sing your crystals to life. It's one of the most beautiful ways of thinking about crystals and seeing your role in relationship to crystals that I've ever encountered. And so I'm going to be drumming tonight. I have my big Flower of Life drum, and we're going to drum our crystals awake. And I thought, what a great time. This is the first quartz skull I ever purchased. I had to save up to buy it. I was a professor at the time, and I still love it so much. I think he's cute. He's not a skinny skull. I like meat on my bones, so to speak. So he's a little chunky. There was a bigger one that I really, really wanted, but in hindsight now, I couldn't afford it. In hindsight now, I know I got exactly the one that I was meant to work with. So sometimes that's how it goes. So yeah, fluorite skull would be great. Any skull would be great if you want to activate it tonight, because I think that's a cool thing to do. You can bring all your skulls. I just chose my one dude. My favorite skull, my big boy, is sitting right here off to the side. I can show it to you at the end if you want to see it. But anyway, he has a little perch here in my crystal room. And I like to think that all the skulls in here are going to get activated. There's quite a few around this room. And I was especially excited to do this ceremony with you tonight from home in my crystal room so that I could activate all of the crystals. The belief also is that when you drum or you tone or you sing with this intention of bringing spirit to your stones, that it also by definition clears them. The other cool thing, I just like to tell you all these stories so that you know how much teaching these classes really means to me. This necklace, you'll see me wear it every once in a while. When you see me wearing it, there's some kind of reboot going on in my life. And I don't want to take too much of your time to tell you so many stories, but I just want to tell you about this one. So this may not look like much to you. It's just a hand wire wrapped piece. It is a white kunzite. And it has there's a bar of aquamarine. I don't know if you can see it, a really long skinny bar of aquamarine. And then it's got a Herkimer diamond. So one of my teachers at the time, this was 2000, this is before Nick was born. So 2003, 4, 5, in that time period, she wire wrapped this. And I was so drawn to it. And to this day, I have more interesting pieces. I have more expensive pieces. I don't know that there's a lot in my jewelry collection that has more meaning to me than this piece does. It's just seen me through all the chapters of my life. And I wore it, which is so cool. I wore it when I went to Australia. It's the only piece of jewelry I took. So it has been to the diamond mine. It has been to all of those really cool experiences I told you about. And it's been there when people have been telling me all these stories because I asked all the questions. So anyway, when you see me wearing it, and I am kind of in a rebooting place in my life. So tonight's meditation, which I'm going to describe to you because I have to teach you about your stones first. The stones are actually what created the inspiration for the journey that I have in mind for tonight. So thank you. Yeah, it means a lot to me and it's very important. And I love that the way she wrapped it, it's very feminine, I think, because I imagined it was hard for her to get and it's a double term, by the way, white kunzite, white spodumene. But I imagine that putting that with the aquamarine and the Herkimer diamond and keeping it all kind of connected was not easy. But I like that it's open on the back too. So it's just there. So anyway, I always wear it like just next to my skin. It's screwing up my balance of my other pieces right now. But anyway, it's down there and it's an important piece to me. Certain things, have certain stories. And part of me, as I have this whole other side of my life where I go to estate sales. So yesterday I was at an estate sale getting stuff for the holidays for SG and the Lair. And I was really touched. I didn't buy most of it, but the lady, every piece of jewelry she had a little, like a half of an index card with the story of the piece. I bought this watch in 1967. I bought it for my mom or I bought it for my daughter. It just had all these different stories. Or this necklace was really important to me. My favorite color was red at the time. Isn't that cool? And I was there yesterday and I got teary while I was like going through this woman's jewelry box and like picking up the piece. And then it was underneath, it was a little note. And I thought we should do that. We should write down those stories. One day, are my kids going to know the story of this piece? You know what I mean? Probably not, unless they've heard me say it so many times that it becomes part of their memory too. So I just thought I would inspire you a little bit to think about, are you capturing the wisdom and the stories about your favorite stones and favorite jewelry in a way and in a place that people, when you're not here anymore, will be able to retell those stories and carry that wisdom forward? And we're going to talk about Australian opals tonight. It's on my list. So I almost don't know where to begin, but let's begin. By the way, what's playing in the background is a Spotify list called like Ocean Rhythms or something like that, 10-hour ocean soundtrack. That's what's recommended for this type of journey that we're doing tonight, because it's a heart opening, heart centering, reconnecting with the beginnings of life, because your stromatolite stone that we're working with tonight is actually a fossil of a creature that was breathing for the planet in Australia, in the waters around and under Australia, 4.4 billion years ago when the planet was forming. So it's just recommended when you work with stromatolites. This one looks like an eye to me. It also looks like a skull to me. It's recommended that when you work with stromatolites in meditation, that you play water sounds. If you have a rain disc, that could be cool. But any kind of sounds that connect you with the energy of the ocean. So that's what I found on Spotify. It's just a playlist of ocean sounds. I'm kind of glad you can't hear it right now because I don't want it to be too loud, but I'm probably going to turn it up a little bit when we journey, if that's okay. But I have to be careful because if it's too loud, then my voice gets drowned out and that makes it hard for people too. So, and what I'm learning recently too is I'm partially hard of hearing now because of my genetic situation. I'm becoming that lady who yells, you know what I mean? Because she can't hear. And I'm also becoming that person who turns up the music super, super loud and everybody else is like, wow, I really don't want to hear that. So you're going to have to guide me as I figure out my hearing loss about what's too loud and what's not too loud. And I'll do my best not to blast you or yell at you. Kind of sucks. I mean, I'm a really healthy person. Otherwise I can't complain, but didn't realize, how much you read lips. That's probably good. Okay. So let me start at the beginning. We have 4 pages of notes tonight, 5 pages of notes tonight. Are you tired of all the notes yet? And then all of that will be available to you so you don't have to worry about anything. So just a couple of reminders before I get started. I hope you're registering for Living University. I'm really excited about it. And we are working with Gems and Minerals in Living University, where it's part of my embodiment class, the Gems and Minerals this year. So we're doing physical and mental and emotional and spiritual healing with your crystals. And we're starting, which is really crazy. This coming Friday is Halloween, and then classes start next week. So if you would like to join, you can visit sagegoddess.com. There's a big Living University banner, and you can choose whatever level of program you want to sign up for. But I'm really excited. And then there's a free class. I think it's Wednesday. Yeah, before Elder Council.
Yeah, right before Elder Council.
Yeah, from 3 to 4.
Is there time?
Yeah. So if you want to see what living embodiment is like, and we're working with the solar plexus chakra, and we're working with the third eye chakra, and then any stones connected to those chakras. So if you want a little taste of what living embodiment is going to be like, would really love to have you join us. There's a link. Cersei will post it so that you can, I think there's an event page so you can RSVP. And then you'll get reminders and stuff. But it's going to be really a fun program. I've never been more excited, and it integrates really nicely with Gem Journey. It's not going to repeat Gem Journey. Gem Journey is its own experience, but it's going to ground our practice with crystals in a new way. And I think you're going to love it. And it's nothing I've ever taught before. So, and I'll also be giving gemstone correspondences for the tarot cards that we're studying. And so there's lots of ways that crystals are woven in. So would love to see you on Wednesday at the free class. And I believe you guys have access to Elder Council as well. I believe so for Gem Journey.
Yes.
Yeah, you do. So really excited for Elder Council too. We're working with a new theme this year called Sweet Surrender. And this idea of surrendering, releasing, asking the ancestors, inviting them in to help us do that work together. So it's going to be a really good clearing ahead of the holiday season, and I hope you can make it. Yes, Gem Journey does continue on. Yeah, it does. So you guys are with me until I believe the end of March?
February.
End of February next year.
Yeah.
So you guys still have to endure me for November, December, January, and February. We have 4 more months together. Elder Council is Wednesday.
Yep,
oh, they don't get Elder Council in this group. Well, could we make an exception for this time?
I can have them post the link for them so that they can see.
I think it might be kind of nice to have you guys join.
Yeah.
Just for this one. It's the last one before the new Elder Councils officially begin for this new year. So yeah, we'll figure that out. Okay.
What we'll do is we'll just upload the private link into their classroom page.
Did you hear that? She's going to upload the private link to your classroom page, and that's how you'll get into Elder Council. You're welcome. It is from 5
To
6 on Wednesday.
Yes.
Yeah,
Same
and
time.
it's 6-ish because you know me in 1 hour, like I can barely, I fart and the hour's over. So I need a couple of hours to do the work. Probably an hour and a half. Yep. What can you do in an hour? I mean, the way I talk, come on now, that's the warm up. I haven't even gotten to the punchline at the hour mark. So you'll get some extra free things this week, which I think is pretty cool. You'll get the free embodiment class and you'll get access to Elder Council. And yeah, so I hope you'll join me for that.
And Elder Council is part of Living Sanctuary in the new program.
Yeah, the new program, you have to join Living Sanctuary at all the levels in the new program get Elder Council. So if you love Elder Council and you're joining the new programs, then you'll have continued access after that. Okay. Yay. There's not going to be anything just like Gem Journey. I'm glad you like it. I'm glad you like it. Like it. Tammy. Because I just don't repeat anything, but the new programs are just it's fun. It's a little more active than we have been. It's more applied, and I'm teaching skills and techniques that I've never taught before, which, having done this for 14 years, is kind of exciting. You know what I mean? Like, it keeps it exciting for me. So yeah, I'm super stoked. Those were all my announcements for you. The tools for next month for Gem Journey, if you want them, we're going to North Africa. And you're getting something really special in next month's tools that's actually worth the cost of the whole kit. You're getting a vanadinite crystal, like the super gemmy ones. You can thank Robin for this. Like, these are hard to find. The super, super pretty vanadinite crystals. It's like almost like getting a double term quartz, and they're beautiful qualities. So you're getting vanadinite plus, and you're getting your perfume, your North African perfume. So we'll talk all about the stones and the oils next month, but those are at sagegoddess.com. Thank you for that, Aura Moon. Yeah, so Gem Journey continues, and then you just enjoy both programs. I'll be teaching both. I'm excited. So anyway, Circe's got Joe details. Let's talk about the ancient foundations of Australia. So Australia's got an interesting, and by the way, if there's time at the end and you want to talk about Three-Eye Atlas, super down for that conversation, because that is sort of relevant, right? I mean, we one of the things you and I know because of Gem Journey is that this whole planet formed through these tectonic events, okay? Right? Like these meteoric collisions and these things that have, if they didn't form the volcanoes, they forced the volcano into eruption, right? That's how this universe developed. That's how the planet evolved. We are way overdue. And I, knock on whatever. I'm not trying to, invite anything, but we are way overdue for some tectonic shifting, right? Like, you can look at the development of our major current continents on this planet, and you can be like, well, we haven't had a meteoric collision. We haven't had any kind of major shifting. And then there's 3AI, which is the third largest object to enter our solar system in documented history, right? So it is kind of a thing. And it doesn't look like a comet to yours truly, who has studied comets. I mean, now I'm not an astrophysicist, but there's some stuff. Okay, so anyway, I don't go all in with the TikTok, the conspiracy theories and all that. I don't go all in with that stuff, but I do think that where there's smoke, there's fire. And I do think that there's something for us to keep an eye on with the 3-Eye Atlas development. And a lot of respectable people in my field, like the ones I shared on my personal Facebook page. If you want to go watch that video, that's an hour and 10 minutes of a rabbit hole, but it's pretty good. What does it look like to me? It looks like a floating city, doesn't it? I mean, somebody said it looks like the Death Star, and I'm like, it doesn't look like the Death Star, but it looks like a coherent cluster of objects, right? Like, it does not look like a comet. We've seen comets. I was very focused when Hale-Bopp came and we had the very unfortunate suicides in Rancho Santa Fe, San Diego, which was not far from where I used to live. We all kind of were watching that process with Hale-Bopp, and we remember what a comet looks like. And so it's sort of like, I know you guys are telling us this is a comet, but I don't know if that's just everybody's best guess and we don't know what it is, so we're going to call it what we think it looks like, or there's some attempt to obscure what this is, which makes me even more excited. Yeah, Barbara Han Clow is a very well-respected author in the metaphysical space. Like, she's got chops. That woman has a bachelor's degree and a master's degree from really good colleges and universities. She's very articulate. She's very knowledgeable. What I like about Barbara is she is able to talk about dimensionality of our universe in ways that are not confusing. And I love that she gives it some depth so that people don't write it off. And she was born 2 days before my mom. So she's 80. My mom would have been 82. So she's been around the block, and she just really knows what she's talking about. So I like it when metaphysical people have their chops so that people take them seriously, because we should be taken seriously. But she's respectable. So I would, I listen to her. I don't believe anything. I don't believe everything that anyone says without doing my own research and verifying. But I feel less like I have to validate what she says, because there is some freaky shit on TikTok. I did watch some of the freaky shit. I always have to. I mean, it's like a tabloid paper or like bad YouTube. You know what I mean? You get sucked into it, and then you realize you don't want to spend your life that way. But okay, so I'm only going to share information about it that I think is relatively reliable and trustworthy. Australia. Okay. So I've taught you this before, but I want to come back and rewind and just remind you of the principle. Okay. So the more of the what we call cratons a continent has, the more likely it's going to be able to withstand a major earthquake or volcanic activity or anything else that really rocks the foundation of a continent. Okay. The Archean cratons, Archaean, Archean cratons, and there's 3 of them in Australia. They're the oldest rocks in Australia. They're 4.4 billion years old. The way so Australia has these lines, okay, these cratons, these large stretches of stable crust, okay? And because it has so many cratons that have over time bonded together, even though Australia is an island, right, as a continent, it sort of floats on its own, and but it's not going to get torn apart by anything anytime soon. Australia could withstand almost any major natural disaster without splitting. Did she? Oh, she locked you in? Sorry, hold on, guys. Rachel left, and Paxton can't get out. I'm sorry, Pete. Come on. Okay. All right, so the more stability you have, the less likely you're going to be affected by a lot of these major shifts. So that gives Australia kind of a sense of permanence. The stability of the tectonic, what they call the tectonic identity of the continent of Australia, is one of the hallmark signatures of its growth and development over time. So and I'm going to show you this map in just a second. And again, this is just a reminder. We've kind of talked about some of these things as we've built our map of identity of the planet over the last few months, but it's always nice to bring you back and just show you where we are now. Okay, so cratons, as I said, are stable pieces of crust that survive all major geological events. So, and what's left of Australia now is pretty much nothing but craton. So that's all we have left is its own stability. There are 3 cratons. We talked about this. Okay, so let's go back to the Proterozoic era, which is 2.5 to 1 billion years ago. That's when these cratons developed on what is now the continent of Australia. And so here's your modern map, right? So, Australia is over here relative to me. So when I was traveling from San Francisco to Australia. it is door to door. San Francisco to Australia is 17 hours, and then it was 5 hours door to door from Brisbane, Australia, which is on it's flippy floppy, I believe. I believe that's the west coast, to Perth, which is on the east coast. I hope I didn't confuse those. I always have to remind myself because in the US, I'm on the west coast, but in Australia, Perth is on the east coast. So anyway, here we are. So 2.5 to 1 billion years ago. Let's go back actually to, do I have the Rodinian map on here? Well, here's Pangaea, right? So here's where we started. That's the Permian period. That's 250 million years ago. And then we've done a lot of work here. You remember the journey and everything that we've done. And then you have over time, the breaking up, right, of Pangaea into Laurasia and Gondwana, with the Tethys Sea forming here, which became, as you recall, the foundation for the Himalayan mountain ridge now that's in Tibet and Nepal. Okay, Triassic. Okay, we still have dinosaurs. We get to Jurassic, 145 million years ago. Now the planet is starting to look more like we see today, right? I mean, again, not entirely, and we've still got stuff that needs to break away, but we've got more or less the formation. To the Cretaceous period, 65 million years ago, even more recognizable to present day. Yeah, so just taking note. Now, one of the things about Australia, it's moving north. It will always be moving north, and could eventually sort of reconnect with certain parts of Asia. Everything's in motion. We've talked about this with Hawaii, right? Hawaii, what did we say it was? It's an inch a year. Perth is west coast for Australia. Okay, so then I was wrong. So I started out, I flew to the east coast, to Brisbane, and then flew from the east coast to the west coast, which was 5 hours. So my total flight time was 22 hours, door to door, from San Francisco to Perth. I would do it again. But it's one of those things where you're really excited to do 22 hours of flight time when you've never been somewhere before. But then when you have to get on the plane and go back, and then you have to go back again, and then you have to go back again 2 weeks later. I was young. I had the energy to do those things in my 30s. I couldn't do that now. I would be like, I could go once. I can't go 3 times in 3 months. Okay. So 1.3 to 1 billion years ago, all regions were fusing. All the regions in Australia were fusing into a single landmass known as Proto-Australia. So the 3 cratons fused. It pulled everything into a single landmass, and that single landmass was called Proto-Australia. Then 750 million years ago, and we've already talked about this, right? That's where Rodinia was breaking apart, and we had the Australia was joined to North and South Africa. So we're going to North and South Africa next time. The next 2 classes. Next month, November is North Africa, and then December is South Africa. These 3 countries have an intense lineage together. They were all co-joined until eventually Australia broke apart from North and South Africa. Again, every other major shift has caused substantial damage to the foundation of each one of the continents that we're studying, except for Australia, because of these incredible cratons that keep it stabilized. Okay. India broke off first, as you recall, from Gondwana, then Antarctica, and then Australia. So the final breakoff, where Australia is now its own independent continent, is 85 to 45 million years ago. So that's how old the existing structure of Australia is. So most people call it 45 million years old because that's the youngest it could be. The oldest it could be as a separate landmass is 85 million years. Okay. Now, here's what's really interesting. The entire climate changed when it separated, broke off, and drifted. And Australia went from kind of a more tropical climate, subtropical, to completely arid and dry. I've been in many places in the world. Australia has the lowest humidity that I recall. Now, there were certain times, certain parts of, because I went over 3 months, so I was kind of between winter and spring. It was starting to get warm. And there's a little humidity in Brisbane, for example, but I mean, Perth was very arid and very dry for me. And the central parts of Australia that I was taken to some of the mining regions, were very arid. So the flora and fauna, which we often don't think about, but the animals and the plant life on your continents as they're shifting completely change. That's why it always blows people's minds that there are woolly mammoth fossils in Tucson, in the hills of Tucson, like completely solid, completely formed woolly mammoths. But, Tucson, there was an ice age, right? And Tucson went through its own metamorphosis where it became like subtropical, and then it was covered in ice. Like it's been through all of these changes. So Australia has gone through those changes too. There's conversations about what Hawaii will look like as Hawaii moves toward Japan. It's going to get cold. Like eventually there will be a time when the Hawaiian Islands are not warm and tropical. And that's it's the reverse of what's happened to Australia. So Australia has become warmer, in some areas somewhat humid, but by and large it's a very arid continent. Okay, so we talked about how it's already moving further north now towards Southeast Asia. And then eventually there's some projections. Like I saw one map that kind of gave a projection of what it would look like as Australia moves north, could fuse with Southeast Asia. Any questions about the movement or development of Australia? Now, all of that's super interesting to me. It really is. But do you know what the most interesting thing is to me about Australia? It's the people. And in particular, it's all of the legends and stories and tales that I was told while I was there, because I love learning about the culture of the places I visit and travel to, and I learned a lot about the Aboriginal cultures of Australia when I was there. Those are the medicine cultures. Those are kind of what we consider to be a shamanic level of culture and society. And there's an ancient lineage. The Aboriginal lineage, as far as I was taught and told, is about 60,000 years old. First forms of those First Nations to modern day. And it's an amazing lineage and legacy. Now, there's a lot of people who connect the Aboriginal people of Australia to Lemuria. And I just put that out there for your consideration. I don't, it's an interesting theory to me, right? The question for me becomes, because I always feel like people try to say, oh, these people would have been Atlantean or these people would have been Lemurian. The question for me always becomes, if there was an Atlantean and Lemurian civilization, I believe there was, right? Would everybody on the planet at the time have known that this civilization or this experience was happening? Does that make sense? Like, would it have been possible for there to have been Aboriginal Australians, right, at the, whatever we want to call Lemurian Atlantis, 12, 15,000 year mark, that maybe could have existed without knowledge of this other civilization or this other happening? I don't have the answer to that question. So what most people say is that the Aboriginals have a connection to Lemuria. I will say this, most of the Aboriginal wisdom about stones that I have been told over all these years, and I've pushed into it. I've since had more conversations and deeper conversations as I've become more interested in how our planet developed. There is a huge relationship between Australia and the heart, right? The heart chakra, and when traditionally we look at the chakras of the continents, usually Avalon, right, which is in Glastonbury, England, is identified as the heart chakra of the planet. But I would say, based on the energy of the place itself, the kinds of crystals that grow in Australia, and the energy of the lineage and the story of the Aboriginal First Peoples of Australia, it's a very heart-centered culture. And I wanted to start tonight's class sharing my adult experiences in Australia, because it reinforced that for me, right? There's an energy in the place itself of love, of connection, of kind of unconditional love, right? There's this sense that the land itself carries that vibration. And I think that's why I fell in love with the place and didn't want to leave. Every time I had to go, I felt sad, even though like my kids were babies and I was eager to get home and see them. I remember feeling sad at the airport every time. Like, I wish I could just stay. But I think it's because there was something in my heart that got healed every time I went there. And it's connected to a lot of the Aboriginal wisdom. So I'm going to share some of the information that has stayed with me after all these years with you. And then if you want to go down rabbit holes, there's so many places to look and learn about the evolution of Aboriginal culture in Australia. And so many of the First Nation stories are, stories of loss of culture, loss of language, loss of symbolism. But I feel like what I've been told over these years is that there's still some of that is true, right? Always true. But there's also a maintenance, a respect for, an appreciation of the Indigenous voice in Australia that I think is probably part of why the land itself is still so magical and so blessed. And you leave there changed, like something changes and shifts within you, and you don't have to be there for a metaphysical purpose. I was there on business trips, but I could feel it every time I came back. Just my heart was a little more open. Yeah, plus koala bears. Nothing says heart opening like koala bear, right? I'm totally serious. I was so in love, you guys. I wanted to just, I like to think I carried some of the energy home. That a little piece, when you go to a place so magical that leaves such an impression on your heart, I like to think that you leave and a little bit of that spirit is with you. You know what I mean? That there's some way that we carry it. Because I just thought, like now I can't go because it's a whole day to travel and it's a whole day to come back, and it's just not realistic. And my kids are like, 21 hours? I'm not flying 21 hours anywhere, right? So I don't know that my kids are going to be good long-term international travel buddies for me. Because my thing is, it's cool. You can fly that long if you know you're going somewhere really special and it's a means to an end. Also, they have way better airlines in Australia. Like I flew coach, right? Which is not great. But I flew coach, I think it was United to Sydney. And then everything else was Qantas when I got to Australia. Qantas Airlines, I don't know if it's still the same. Best airline I've ever flown. The food, the people, the experience, the seats, the bathrooms, like it made coach feel like business class, which was really, really awesome. So anyway, if you ever have to fly, just fly Qantas. Next time I would fly Qantas from LA, right? Yeah, no, Lee would go with me. There's a handful of people who are willing to go on my Athena's Wild Adventures, but my kids are like, excuse me, you want me to do what? I like to read, so long flight times are not hard for me because I'm like, maybe I can get through a whole Graham Hancock book, right? But again, my kids look at me like I've got three heads when I say stuff like that. Like, all right, and you want me to read? Okay, you want me to fly 20 hours with a book? You would fly with me? Thank you for telling me that. Maybe my dream of having retreats and stuff like that, because I've always thought maybe I have to do something close by because people aren't going to travel. But then the places I want to go are really far away. So, okay, well, we'll travel together and I can leave the kids. I'll send them a postcard. Okay, so in Aboriginal cosmology, these are the nuggets I want to leave with you. Everything is alive, and everything has its own life force. So that's why all things are sacred. And that, of course, includes our gems and minerals. So not every Indigenous culture and every place has a crazy lineage with stones and working with stones. It's very important in Aboriginal culture not to talk about using stones. Like I use my stones for this or I use my stones for that would not be language that would be aligned. So it's more about allyship, partnering, what is the word? They're considered portals, right? So they're very sacred. Each stone has its own life force, its own mission, its own meaning. And so the concept is more partnering with or working with as opposed to using something for. Yeah. So gemstones, though, and I mentioned this to you, We've got our stones for tonight, our stromatolite and our rainforest jasper. And by the way, I have a really funny story about this stone to share with you that my team knows because it relates to them too. So I'm going to share that with you. That was a random story that came up this week. I do too. I think every stone has its own spirit. I mean, gemstones for me, and you know this because I've told you this before. The reason I'm obsessed when people are like, why do you love crystals so much? My first answer is always crystals prove to me that there is a source force creator, that there's some higher power in this universe that's smarter than me. And that brings me a lot of peace because that being true means that I can rest, right? That there's an intelligence, there's a consciousness, right? It isn't just, I don't want to be the smartest person in the universe, right? I want to believe that there's a source and force. And so crystals, there's no way there isn't, right? Some force was able to create rainbows inside the earth. And I told you about my friend who's a geologist and said that the colors of your crystals in many cases follow chakra colors along the ley lines, right? So like there's a source creator that knew how to put rainbow colored, beautiful and very symmetrical, repeating pattern kind of symmetry materials into the earth at certain locations near certain ley lines and vortex points, right? This is all happening. This is all subterranean. That tells me there is a God. And I think every crystal has its own voice and its own life force and its own message and its own meaning. And then I think they all are attuned to frequencies, and so are we, and they look for us. Like they're like little beacons, right? And they can kind of scan for us. And we find certain crystals, or we're attracted to certain crystals, or we purchase certain crystals oftentimes before we need them, which also reinforces to me how magical they are. It's like, oh, I bought this one 6 months ago before any of this happened, and now I know why that little whatever it is fell into my hands. So to the Aboriginals, your gemstones are spoken to and they're sung to. They sing to them. And singing, it's not like, this girl is on fire, right? They're not singing like songs to them. They're singing, they're chanting, they're drumming, and they are toning. So there is special music and all of their, intentional lyrics and all those things. And I don't have all that to share with you tonight, but I know that you can drum as a way of singing to the stones to awaken them, their dormant potential. Okay. So the saying is, the stones remember. And when we sing to them, we wake them up. The stones remember, and when we sing to them, we wake them up. So that's why I want to drum tonight as part of our journey. Now, there's a whole concept, and I've done a little research into this, not a lot, but a little bit. And again, if you are interested, you can go down the rabbit hole of what are called the dreaming. Have you guys heard of this? The dreaming, the song lines, which seem to correspond to the ley lines. So the dreaming are these song lines, and when you sing to the lines, you activate everything in the line. And the Aboriginals talk in the history about these plates and how they stabilize the continent, and how the continent is blessed with this kind of tectonic stability because it has all of these dreaming lines, or these song lines, these destiny lines that are woven into the geography. And so these are called the sacred pathways. They run across the country, online. Like when you go down these rabbit holes, you can find like maps of the dreaming. So you can find maps of the song lines. I always thought it would be cool if I lived for 1,000 years, that, on my bucket list could go like tracing all the dream lines in Australia, because I think that would be a radically powerful pilgrimage. Okay. And then I'm going to tell you about some of the indigenous wisdom about 3 stones we're not teaching tonight, before I get into the stones for tonight. Is that okay? Yeah, dreamlines is just a gorgeous concept, isn't it? And it's like, I think every land formation probably has its own dreamlines. If we look at the indigenous teachings of different cultures, like we can probably track that concept. but yeah, no, I believe that singing to your plants activates them, right? I have a friend who's like such a green thumb, and he's so adorable, but he sings to his plants. And I just gave him an orchid this weekend that wasn't doing well, and I'm like, you need to sing to my orchid. So I gave it to my master plant nurse. But yeah, so anyway, it's something special for you to look into if you feel called. One of the things I thought was really interesting, and I'm glad I had my quartz skull. Quartz is thought to have very special powers, according to some of the indigenous traditions and stories of Australia. There's a word called, and I don't know how to pronounce it, Mabon or Mabon, Maban, which is different from Mabon, the fall equinox, Mabon. And it's hidden wisdom within quartz in particular. So Mabon is this force, but it is most resonant or most often found in quartz. Quartz is said to carry a higher proportion of this magic energy, according to indigenous, the Aboriginals of Australia. And so quartz is just unique. Now, there is some, they don't call it programming, but there's some discussion of the fact that quartz can shapeshift and can be used as different, have different properties. So you can work with it as if it is a different stone. And I think it's interesting because we think of that as a modern concept, but that seems to be woven into some of the Aboriginal stories about quartz and its portability, its mutability, right? It has so many different properties. And part of it may be, for me, that's always been true because silicon dioxide is found on every continent. There really isn't a land mass on the planet that can't support the formation of quartz, silicon dioxide, because it just has a ubiquitous structure and it's not uncommon, right? And so we tend to like not take quartz too seriously because it's not uncommon, although we know there's more unique forms of quartz, right? Like we've studied Tibetan quartz with carbon in it that's unique. And then in Brazil, we have all kinds of like the shaman dreamstone with the limonites and actinolites and all of the subminerals. But anyway, I think this concept of Mabon, or that there's some sacred secret wisdom that lives primarily in quartz, or that quartz is the best conductor of, might be a more accurate way of putting it. Mica, which of course grows with quartz and is ubiquitous. There's different colors of mica. Like you find green and black in Southern California in the hills and mountains here, but there's silver mica, there's gold mica in Brazil, there's blue mica, there's brown mica. So there's all colors of mica. So, but to the indigenous of Australia, they talk about celestial bodies and star beings. And that being sort of like, the mica is almost like stardust. It's like cosmic residue to them, and it's proof that the star beings or the star people were here. So I love that teaching because I love mica so much. Lepidolite is a form of mica too. So mica grows in the purple tones, the blue tones, the pink tones. There's like a rose mica that you find sometimes in Brazil and in Africa. You've got the muscovite, that's exactly right, which is white mica. So, but isn't it cool to think of it as stardust? Like I said, I love it so much. And mica used to be ground up for eyeliner, right? Like kind of like the gold that I like to wear on my eyelids would have been made from mica. So it does have that kind of like star dust appearance to it. But yeah, so I don't know. I just love all of these stories. And then, and also mica is thought to be a tool for celestial travel, including lucid dreaming. Who knew? So maybe part of the reason that lepidolite relaxes us so much is that it's inducing astral travel for us, and we don't even know. I don't know that that's true, but I like the story, and I'm going to stick to it because it resonates with my own experience of mica. How many of you guys have mica in your collection other than lepidolite? Right? Yeah, I do too. Well, and I love it. I call it the book page formation, right? Because the way that mica forms is in sheets, and that you can kind of peel them back. So it looks like the pages of a very old book because the pages kind of crack as you pull them, right? But anyway, go back through your collection later tonight or tomorrow or this week or whatever, and like pull out all of your mica and maybe take it to sleep with you. If it is a tool for astral travel and projection and dream time analysis and, all of that, waking dream state, it could be a pretty potent ally, and we haven't explored it enough. We've only really talked about lepidolite as like, oh, if you have anxiety. This is my new favorite soda, by the way. Have you had this? I'm not here to promote soda, but it's life-changing. Sugar-free. I have to promote my Canada Dry. It's my favorite thing right now. It's like cherry 7-Up, kind of. In case you're wondering, sometimes you ask, what's in my glass? Opals. Okay, interesting connection between Australia, so good, between Australia and Greece, okay? Because the Greeks have always talked about opals as being the footsteps of the gods, that when the gods would come down from Mount Olympus to, greet humans or whatever, everywhere that gods would step, it would create an opal in their footstep. The Aboriginals have the same story about opals as being the footsteps of the gods, or like I said, like the imprint of the star people. So, opals, seen as the fire of dreams or the fire of dreaming. Again, dreaming is so important to the Aboriginal culture. And it reminds me in so many ways of the Mayan culture, because in the Mayan culture, all magic, and you can talk to anyone about this, all magic is connected to dreams. And when we dream, according to the Mayan cosmology, all we're doing is moving into a different dimensional reality, which makes totally perfect sense to you and me, right? Like when we're dreaming, we're not in 3D because we're not bound by space. Your dreams happen anywhere and everywhere, and we're not bound by time, right? I had a dream a couple nights ago when I was much younger. I've had dreams where I'm much older, right? So we're in these, it's a multi-dimensional experience, and that opals are the fire of those dreams. And they are said to carry us into dream time and dream state, and they carry creation light. So there's no, some cultures have these legends around opals that it's like not good luck and you shouldn't buy yourself an opal and all, like there's just kind of a negative cosmology around opals. There's none of that in Australia. And Australian opals, boulder opals, are crazy expensive. They are incredibly beautiful. There was a year at the show where I bought my team that was with me at the time, because I try to get like a special gift for the team that travels. I had gotten them small pieces of boulder opals. I met this man and he had the most gorgeous ones, and they were, boulder opals are like shades of blue and shades of purple. And it's, again, it reinforces all of this energy of water. We know how opals are formed, right? And one of the reasons that opals are so fragile, they're brittle, is that a high content of water that makes them translucent and beautiful and that we fall in love with also makes them less durable, right? So on the measure of hardness scale, they're almost non-existent. Your partner has gotten all your opals. Yeah, I had a beautiful boulder opal pendant from my personal collection that I sold in one of our sales recently. And I sold it at like half of what its value was, just because I wanted it to go to a new home. But I mean, it was like that big. So Australia is home to some of the most beautiful opals in the world. I love boulder opals, but I'll be totally honest with you. There is no opal on this planet that I would choose over a Mexican water opal. Not a Mexican fire opal, but a Mexican water opal. So if you ever see those, I will tell you they are ridiculously rare, hard to find. You can always find fire opals, but the water opals that are completely clear and translucent, and they look like you're looking down into a rainbow waterfall. They're breathtaking. If I have time tonight, and you want to see my water opal ring, I'd be happy to show it to you. So I had 2 water opals. You might remember this. It was around the 11th anniversary of SG. I had acquired 2 water opals. And so my jeweler was doing some fine jewelry at the time and set them both. And I kept one and I sold the other one, which I wanted to do. So somebody out there has the matching ring. And I can't remember who bought it, which just kills me. Sometimes I want to write to them and go, how are you loving your ring? I had it set in 14 karat gold with diamonds and stuff, and somebody bought it. So yeah, if you want to see my water opal, the matching pair is out there. I can show that to you later. Okay, so everything must be sung alive. Drums can also sing your stones to life. So tonight we're going to do a 2-part journey. One is for connecting to what the Aboriginals call the first breath, okay? And it's using stromatolite which I'm about to teach you about right now, this stone, this exact stone, the exact creature that this is, because this is a fossil, this exact thing took the first breath of life on our planet. True story, 4.4 billion years ago. One of my friends who goes to Tucson every year, he's not a seller, he's just like he's a retired geologist, and he's just a smart guy. And he doesn't like to do interviews, which is why you haven't met him, but he's super, super fun. Anyway, he's always like, stromatolites. Whenever we walk around together, he'll pick them up and he'll just be like, I've told you about these, right? And I'm always like, I know, they're the lungs of the planet. And he's like, Athena, like, do you get what a big deal that is? It is such a big deal to hold something in your hands without which we wouldn't be here. He's like, you can look at a whole bunch of things and say, I wouldn't be here without this, or I wouldn't be here without that. He's like, literally, we wouldn't be here. This single organism is responsible for the fact that we have human life, which I just think is mind-blowing. So this stone from your set tonight, by the way, the most gorgeous Australian stromatolite. So your kits are really cheap. I really have done my best to give you beautiful things at an affordable price, because I have a lot of old stock. And so I was able to put these sets together. You wouldn't be able to get these stones now for this price. This stromatolite in your collection now is the juiciest I've ever had for you. And these would go for about $15 a piece, 15 to 18. So you pretty much got the rest of your kit this month for free. If you want the tools, we still have some of the sets for you. If you're like, after learning tonight, you're like, oh my God, I've got to have a piece of that. We don't have an endless supply of it though. And I can't get it now. So you got this because I had it. And so I'm charging you like a stupid fair price for it, but not what it's worth today. Yeah. Yeah. Same size as a single stone. Heather Thompson saw one for $35. Yeah, I'm telling you, it's nuts. And they all have eyes. So, okay. Yeah. If you have any stromatolite, Karina George, you're going to be fine. Do not worry. Any stromatolite is good. And you probably have, I've brought you 2 or 3 since I found you, or you found me, whatever happened. I've brought you 2 or 3 different kinds of stromatolite, in part because of Alex and how passionate he is about them and all of the ways that he's taught me over all these years. So whenever I see them, I get them. And there are different stromatolites from different countries, by the way. You can find stromatolites in Morocco, like stromatolites, but the Australian stromatolites are totally different. So no, if it's a Bolivian stromatolite, which I'm really glad you mentioned that, Sally Briggs, because I want to reinforce that, right? You might be out and about at a gem show and see, oh, stromatolite, and look down and it's like, but these are Bolivian stones, or these are Moroccan or Madagascar. Stromatolite is just the type of fossil, and these little cuties lived all over the planet, but the way they fossilized in every country is slightly different because of the other minerals and the other and the tectonic formation. And so anyway, let me dive right into the stones since we're already there. I'm going to teach you something tonight. So I have 2 more pages of notes to go through, and then we have our journey. So I hope you're excited. Are you enjoying tonight? I hope so. Oh, and then when I get to Rainforest Jasper, remind me to tell you the story about Nick, because it's a short story, but it's a cute story. So stromatolite. Stromatolite. Da-na-na-na-na. Stromatolite. Da-na-na-na. Super powerful for ancestral healing. So here's what I'm going to tell you. If you are doing ancestral healing, if you're doing any kind of grief or loss healing, like someone's passed away, you went through a breakup, if you're going through a rebirth, like you're refining, like I am, like becoming something new or more refined version of yourself after going through trauma. The stones and the oils tonight, there are no better stones other than bronzite, and there are no better oils to work with than that little vial you have in your hands and this stone. Truly, like, it does not get better than that. So if you haven't opened your perfume, while I'm teaching you about the stones, let's just anoint with the oils so that you start to enjoy the energy of them while we talk. So a little bit at your wrist or your arm. I'm not putting it over my tattoo because I'm still healing. So I'm just putting it down a little bit, and then a little at your third eye for what you know, and a little bit at your feet to bless your steps. And a nice deep inhale there. Oh, thank you, Stephanie. My heart's with you. And your wife. Please pass our deepest wishes for comfort and ease along to her. And I'm glad you're here tonight. I'm glad that this can be a space for you to come and be. Really, really happy to hear that. And just sending you all the love tonight. Honestly, I think working with the stones and hearing these stories is probably right where you need to be. Don't you think? I mean, every class in this class is so different, but we don't often get to a session where grief and ancestral work and lineage stuff and heart healing, like it's all on the menu tonight for Australia. So I just feel like it was kind of meant to be, truly. So thank you for that. And you've got all my animals here with you. Okay, so let's talk about stromatolite. Consciousness of the ocean. I say this as someone who has all fire in my chart. I've got one planet in a water sign, and I'm scared of water because I drowned in a past life. Water's not my jam. I'm learning to enjoy water. I'm learning not to be afraid of water, but I still like to work with stones in particular that carry water frequencies. And that's what you have here. I want to tell you briefly, though, there's a couple of other stones that carry water frequencies. So if you don't have stromatolite in your collection, it's occurring to me to tell you to grab some Kambaba jasper. You have Kambaba jasper? Kambaba jasper is a huge one for water element energy. It's very masculine. Stromatolites are a little more feminine, but Kambaba jasper, same concept, right? It's fossilized sea algae formed under the African continent. And so it's got the same kind of long-term lineage. It's not a stromatolite, but it carries that water energy. So Kambaba jasper is really, really good. The other stone that's fucking awesome for this, by the way, if you don't have stromatolite, it's just as good, is the Sanskrit jasper, the Miriam stone. You guys have, I've brought you a lot of that, and I've taught you how special it is. You should have a piece by now. That is same concept. So that's the stone that formed under the Tethys Sea before the Himalayan mountains formed. I mean, you want to talk about a lineage of magic? It formed under Shambhala. Like, no joke. So those are the two. If you have any Miriam stones, also known as Sanskrit jasper stone, please grab a piece of that. If you don't have that, get some Kambaba. I love them too. Okay. This stone is for emotional resonance and purification. Here is what comes through energetically for this stone. When you've been carrying around energy that's too much for you, a couple of things start to happen. Physically, we can end up with body pains and aches, right? That's usually one of the first signs that you're carrying around energy that's just too dense for your field, because it starts to weigh your body down. And wherever that energy is weighing on you, your body responds with a pain impulse, right? So pain is a big sign of that. The lack of circulation in the body is another sign. So we start to have experiences like swelling and edema and fatigue. You know, we call it adrenal fatigue. But it's really the lack of movement of energy through the system. These are the times when we have these experiences that we really need to start to work with water element energy, and also things like copper, and then the copper ores, which is malachite, chrysocolla, shadokite. What's the one we were just studying? Cuprite. All of those are very helpful too, but that's the physical situation that's going to be supported by this stone. In Australia, these are called portals to deep time. And really, there is no deeper time than 4.4 billion years old when this little creature started to breathe. It was the first experience. This stone, this creature that became this stone, and again, is a fossil. This was a living, breathing creature, had the first experience of oxygen on Earth. It's a pretty profound thing. These are the kinds of stories, by the way, when I'm teaching young people about stones. I used to, when my kids were little, I was the class mom. And one year I brought a USPS mailing like bucket. I filled it with sand and some soil, just dry, light sand, perlite. And then I tucked stones inside and let the kids mine them. And then as each one of them mined their stone, they asked me what it was. I taught them the properties of it, and they got to take it home. Like, it would be fun, if you have young kids or something like that, and you want to teach them and get them excited about geology. Because then I told them, like, hey, I marked on the side of the container, like, this far down is the crust. And I talked about the mantle and the core. So you can, things like stromatolites are fun to have in there just to teach students about the origins of the planet. You could put those at the bottom because they're like the deepest of the crystals, that would have had the deepest position in the planet. Yeah, I mean, and I love it. Jeanette's like, imagine how pure the air was back then. Imagine how pure the water, right? Imagine how pure the food was, right? Anything being cultivated at that time. It's hard to imagine, right? We have evolved so far away from that level of purity on the planet. But I do think when we connect with something like this, we can connect to that hologram, right? I call them holograms or timelines or whatever you will. Like, we can move into that space, and we'll do it together tonight in the journey, just to kind of have that experience and ask our guides to help us breathe in tonight through ancient lungs, right? Like, give ourselves an experience tonight that is like breathing the air that we would have been breathing at that time when the planet was new. And what would that be like? It's almost like pure oxygenation. So that's what you're tapping into with this. I often thought, my mom died of COPD, which is a terrible, terrible thing to have, and was very sad because she really struggled to breathe. And I often thought, I look back now, I didn't give her stromatolite, but I often think now, like, I would do that now. I would do some crystal treatments with her around connecting with first breath, opening the lungs, allowing her to breathe, or visualize the idea of breathing freely in really pure air, right? It would be really, really cool to be able to do that. So no, I have not heard of that opal, but I want to. I'm a rabbit hole girl. You know what I mean? Like, I just love going down all of these ancient pathways and unlocking doors to things I never imagined I would learn, right? Yeah, imagine asthma. Jeanette's mom has COPD. Imagine asthma with this. Like, my son has asthma. So, like, it just, again, can't hurt. But I love the idea that the visualization itself helps to lead us to that kind of healing. And then even if you're dealing with respiratory issues and colds and flus and viruses and stuff, it could be just a really powerful stone ally to have in your collection. Now, this comes from, you're talking about Brinthalia opal. I was going to say Pilbara and Shark Bay is where this comes from. Pilbara. And where these are found is on ley lines. I mean, I'm not surprised. Are you? Remember, ley lines are the sort of like the lattice. I showed you in earlier classes maps of the planet and where all the ley lines are. And then the places where the ley lines cross, those are the vortex places. So this grows on ley lines, or comes from ley lines, which I think is pretty cool. It's associated with Lemuria. Again, I told you, you're going to hear a lot of Lemurian talk when it comes to Australia. But it resonates with me that being a true statement, because for me, Lemuria is about unconditional love. And I taught you that when we studied Lemuria, right? I tend to think of these two ancient civilizations, Lemuria and Atlantis, as being associated with unconditional love on the one hand, with Lemuria as an experiment, which failed. And then with technology, on the other hand, with Atlantis, right? Which, again, a failed experiment. But the idea that unconditional love needed to have a bridge with technology in order to build a foundation of civilization, which I think is true, right? You can't just build civilization on love. You've got to have language and laws and, structures and underwear. Can't just be floating around naked, just loving everybody all the time. What kind of horrible place would that be? Although I dream of that because I think I've had just about enough of language and structure and clothing and civilization, right, Paxton? We've had it. Okay, so for tonight's journey, which is, I'm calling it the first breath journey, we're going to listen to some of these ocean sounds in the background. I'm going to drum. We're going to awaken our stones, but we're also going to try to breathe together this primordial breath, which I'm intending is going to really not just bring you peace and calm, like to soothe your central nervous system, but also, breath is, I've told you, I've had the most powerful shamanic journeys of my life with my breath, stronger than ayahuasca, stronger than San Pedro, or all the things, right? So we can also use our breath, and we'll have a little experience of that tonight. I'm going to do just a tiny bit of breath work with you to try to get you to soften up a little bit so that you can connect with the astral realms more easily. So I think all of that is part of the process. Now this stone, so that's stromatolite. This stone is called rainforest jasper, rainforest rhyolite. I love the little piece they gave me because it's not a heart shape, but it kind of looks like it's a heart shape. Actually, it looks like Australia, which is cool. And do you see how one of my favorite things about this stone, see the little this little boop at the bottom, this one little part that's kind of translucent. You see that? You can kind of see through it. That's chalcedony. And so there tends to be little rivers and pockets of often blue, but sometimes green and a little bit of brown chalcedony. And from here, it's completely translucent. I don't have my flashlight anymore because I sent it into the office, but you can totally see through the chalcedony parts. And when you get rainforest jasper, that's one of the things that tells you how much it's going to cost, because the more chalcedony pockets it has in it, the more valuable it is. So if you get a piece that doesn't have any chalcedony, it's still a beautiful piece. You want to see saturation of color, so bright, golds and greens. You want to see a little bit of chalcedony. Mine has that one little piece there. You're looking for markings. So you see how there's like almost every color of the rainbow on that piece. So these are higher qualities of rainforest jasper. And I had a really interesting experience when you're in Tucson too, because I was buying stones from an Australian vendor, and he had like 3 or 4 flats of rainforest rhyolite spheres, this stone, but in sphere form, which I can't find mine, and it's driving me up the fucking wall. I can't find a single. I used to have 3 rhyolite rainforest spheres, and I can't find any of them. And I mean, this is my room. It's like they walked away. But what I wanted to tell you is every box was priced differently, right? So they had like the first box, the lowest price was like, had no markings, no color, was like light green. All the way up to the last box of spheres, which was like double the price, that had, a little chalcedony window in it. And they had orange and yellow and green and markings, and everything was darker and brighter. So anyway, one of Australia's most spiritually potent stones. It is for heart centering. It's for bringing you back to love, right? When you've gotten out of love and you've gotten into fear and you've gotten into anger and into resentment and into grief and into whatever else you've gotten into, rainforest rhyolite is a stone that brings you back. It recalibrates you toward love. Anything that's a rhyolite has eyes, like little orbits, right? Little pockets. And anything that is rhyolite comes from a volcano. Because basically what those orbits are, they call it orbicular too. Rainforest, rhyolite, orbicular jasper. What those little eyes are the holes in the lava as it forms, right? And so they become filled with the different minerals over time. So the holes become filled with quartz, and they become filled with chalcedony, and they become filled with agate, and they become filled with jasper, right? So all of those things grow in the gas bubbles in the lava. So all of that gives it the reason they call it rainforest jasper is they, and I think it kind of does, like it looks like a rainforest, right? Super lush greens and tropical flowers that would be orange and yellow. Like it has the colors are kind of rainforest colors. That's the only reason it's called rainforest jasper. This is for regeneration, rebirth, for creating nothing out of, creating matter out of form and matter out of vision. So it's for manifestation. It's heart centering. 120 to 200 million years old. And it comes from Queensland, Australia, near Mount Hay. There's a very ancient volcano there, inactive, it's dormant. And that's where rhyolite, rainforest jasper. Do you have a sphere? I'm really glad you have one. I don't know where mine went. Do you ever have that happen with crystals and I do give things away when people are in here, and sometimes I forget. I'm like, oh yeah, I gave that away. Like I gave a singing bowl away. I don't know, 3-4 years ago, and then didn't realize I couldn't get them made anymore. And I'm like, oh shit. Now I'm missing a crown chakra. But anyway, I'm sure they'll come back to me if they're meant to be. Might be at the office packed up somewhere. Okay. And then, so the story I want to tell you real quick before I get to the oil. So Nick and his friend were at the warehouse this last week. And they come up to me and they're kind of smiling and they're kind of laughing. And because Nick's friend was like, there's no way your mom knows the properties of all of these stones in this building. There's no way. Let's find one, a really crazy one that would be hard for her to see if we can stump her. So they come up and they come to me and they've got rainforest jasper. And so they hand me the piece and I go, oh, that's rainforest jasper. And Nick goes, no, it's not. Because on the tray that it was in downstairs, it says rhyolite jasper. He's like, no, it's not. See, we stumped her. And I'm like, rainforest jasper, Nick, is a form of rhyolite jasper. And rhyolite comes from volcanoes, usually inactive volcanoes that create bubbles in lava that get filled with different minerals. And it's called rainforest because it looks like a rainforest because of the colors. So he's looking this up on his phone, like totally convinced he's going to show me that I'm not accurate. And he looks at his phone and his friend looks at it and they're like, bro, she totally knew it. And now she's like writing us a doctoral dissertation about what it is. So his friend was like, I guess you really do know every stone in the building. And I'm like, honestly, dude, I probably did at some point. I'm going through menopause and my brain is like Swiss cheese. But yes, by and large, if you bring me a stone, any stone, I can tell you where that came from. So that was my little ha-ha, show me something, kiddo. Let me see. I think I covered everything. Any questions about stromatolite or rhyolite? Every once in a while, you need that as a parent, because your kids start going, well, she thinks she knows everything or whatever, which I totally don't think I know everything. But there was a little bit of that, like, back up, bro. Stay in your lane, friend. Okay. Let's talk about the oils. I should do that to him, like seasonings are his area of expertise. I should do that to him and be like, see if you know what this one is, ha. And then let him like show me something. Okay. So there are 3 oils in this blend. Australia, 3 oils. Boronia flower, one of my favorites. It is the most heart-centered heart note other than rose. I don't think it gets more heart-centered than Boronia flower. Australian sandalwood, which honestly, like, you would be right to ask for your money back if I made a perfume blend for Australia and I didn't put Australian sandalwood in it. Australian sandalwood and Hawaiian sandalwood are the best. Some people who are really purists say that the Australian is better than the Hawaiian. I don't know. I love the Australian sandalwood. And I'm not a huge sandalwood person. Sandalwood for me, sometimes, is too sweet. It's got this kind of, it's not in this blend because the Australian doesn't tend to have this. The Indian sandalwood has a lot of it. It's almost like, You know how sweetgrass has an almost too sweetness to it? It's like a kind of a cloying sweetness. I just don't love it. So what I will tell you is Australian sandalwood is the only sandalwood I love, where I put it in a perfume. It doesn't bring that weird sweetness to it, but it still has all of the properties of sandalwood. Yeah, it's just kind of, you know what I mean? If I smell Indian sandalwood in a perfume, I won't wear it. It's just like, all I can smell is just sandalwood. But sandalwood is super magic. And one of the things about Australian sandalwood is it's known as an oil that goes really well with oud, which it does. And then the other note in here is Buddha wood, which is known as Australian oud. So if you ever wondered it's not oud, by the way, it's not secreted from the agarwood tree because that's what makes oud. But if you ever wondered, like, are there other oils that kind of are oud-y, but also have a lot of other really cool healing properties? Buddha wood from Australia is that. And so they call it Australian oud. So my quest was to make a blend that had both the Australian oud, the Buddha wood, and the Australian sandalwood in one place. And then Hanalei and I wanted to lighten it up a little bit. So there's the Boronia flower does that. And again, carries the same kind of like thread through of heart opening, heart centering, all of that. So I'm going to start with, and by the way, there's different chakras. The Buddha wood for me is root chakra, earth star chakra a little bit. The Boronia flower is heart chakra, and sandalwood is always crown chakra. So you do get kind of all of the chakras activated with the different oils in this blend too. It does have a nice dry down, doesn't it? And it's not sandalwoody. And by the way, sandalwood is a base note. So the problem with sandalwood based perfumes, if you're like me and you don't love sandalwood, is that's what you're going to smell like for a long time after that perfume dries down. This one, I smell the sandalwood, but it's, like I said, it's the good sandalwood. And then, but I also smell the Buddha wood. There's almost, there's a woodsy kind of like teak-ish effect or note on the dry down of this one that I really, really like. But again, this is, if you have heartbreak, heartache, I don't think there could be a better 3-note blend for you to work with right now in the entire Sage Goddess library of scents. So you absolutely are choosing the right blend to work with if you need that. And then I would say, if you don't need that, maybe think about someone in your life who does and gift it to them, or save it and maybe put an extra label on it. Like, you may not remember, Australia was that blend, but you could write on another label or in tiny, tiny font on this label, like grief, balancing, heart centering, something like that, so that you would know that that's your go-to blend. So Santalum spicatum, which is the Latin botanical name, grounds the spirit. And it really does. It prepares you for meditation. It prepares you for journey work. If you've been floating, a lot of us as empaths just feel like we float through things, like our soul is kind of always in and out. It grounds you and centers you, stabilizes you. The sandalwood in Australia comes from Western and South Australia. And the Aboriginals used it extensively for smoke ceremonies and for consecration and dedication of sacred spaces, which I thought was interesting. The heartwood of the sandalwood tree in Australia gets used in medicine work. So the heartwood gets powdered and made into a really beautiful incense too. And it's smoked and it's burned. And then the oil, of course, is used as an offering to ancestral spirits and guardians of the Dreamtime realm. Because again, so much of the healing focus in Australia centers on and around the concept of Dreamtime. Then Boronia, which is your heart note, that's your heart chakra. Boronia flower is related to the citrus family, which I think is really interesting. It doesn't smell like citrus, but its botanical origins are linked. There's over 100 different species of Boronia flowers. This one in your blend is the pink Boronia. I like it because it's the sweetest of all the Boronias. The white is beautiful, but it's not as sweet. It's a little deeper, but it's not as sweet. It's for heart repair, especially after heartache. It's perfect for grief, healing, and all endings. The mantra of Boronia flower is, I am letting go with love. I am letting go with love. It creates a platform for emotional alchemy, transmuting grief into creative inspiration. Isn't that gorgeous? So all of that. And then Buddha wood, which is the base note, is also known as desert rosewood. This has the lineage, really interesting spiritual lineage too. Lots of Aboriginal use for Buddha wood. It's known as the essence of sacred silence. It's the call to prayer. It balances yin and yang energies. It's native to Queensland, Australia. Aboriginals use it to cleanse, clear, and calm the spirit before ceremony. So it's sort of like what you would take on your body or apply to your body to clear your body, much like you would work with white sage smoke to clear your space. It's got a mild sedative property. So if you get tired after tonight's journey and you've been anointing, it's not me, it's the Buddha wood. But it's used for deep shadow work and transmutation. Calms the mind, helps with a cluttered mind. And that, my friends, is all 5 pages of my notes for you. And I will make sure that you have the map too, if you want to keep that for your notes. A lot of you have said that you are kind of keeping the pictures of the geology that we studied together along with all the notes, which I think is really cool, like in your 3-ring binders and stuff. So I will make sure you have that. Okay. Are you ready? I'm going to burn some. What am I going to burn tonight? Where's my lighter? I do have this magic little incense that was made by the man who helped me make Elder Council, my old teacher up in the Bay Area. And I've just been going back to the stuff I saved from him. So I have this. This is a dirty burner. Do I have a better burner? No, maybe not. Okay, sorry. I'm just going to burn just a little of his. Doesn't even have a name. Scoop some into there. I'll send some your way. I remember him describing this to me as an astral blend. So I just thought, given the work that we're doing tonight, it could be really cool. Can you hear the ocean stuff in the background, or do I need to turn it up a little bit? I don't want it to be overpowering. So there's some of that for you. I always feel like he's around when I burn his incense. Yeah, no, and Vanya's, by the way, we are so thankful, aren't we, for Vanya and all the incredible work that she's done this year and the sheets that she's created for us. So I'm just so grateful for her and for that magic. Deep breath in. Okay, let me turn it up a little bit for you. So I want you to just calm your mind, roll your shoulders back. Release all the tension from your jaws, your shoulders, elbows. And I want you to start to think about an intention for this journey. And so let me frame it up for you, and then I'll turn up the music a little bit. So the journey tonight is about connecting with your breath and trying to recall what we're calling the first breath. So it could be your first breath. It could be the first breath you took in this lifetime, which would be a perfect theme for tonight because so much of the energy of these stones and these oils is around rebirth. So, and sometimes when we go back to the womb or we go back to the first breath we took, it's a really good way to heal, right? Any trauma that you had coming into this life with the first breath. If you don't want to make it too personal tonight, the alternative journey is for you to go back to the first breath of the planet and do some ancestral work by connecting with the planet's first breath. Does that make sense? So like for me, I want it to be a little personal. So I'm going to go back to my first breath on this planet, maybe my first breath in other lifetimes, and try to connect that way to do some lifetime healing. If you don't want to do that, you can do some planetary ancestral healing by connecting not with your own breath, but with the planet's breath. And that'll be a much different kind of journey. It'll be less about you and your healing. It'll be more about your connection to the planet, maybe some past life memories coming up for you. But I like to give you that that perspective, because sometimes it's like, sometimes you just don't want a personal journey. Oh, thank you, Jeanette. Yeah, so sometimes you just don't, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes you're just like, I'm not in the mood. Yeah, you don't have to burn Palo if you don't want to. I mean, you could. That's why I felt called to do something different tonight that wasn't Palo or white sage. It's just a little more, kind of makes me feel like I need to create an incense, maybe include some of his blend, but for more for connecting with the astral realms. It's like, maybe it's purification, but it feels like something different. It feels like transmutation. And we don't have an incense for that. So, but the always magical Hanalei and I could put something together. Could be a good class project. Okay, let me go turn that up a little bit. But for now, I want you to focus on your intention. Call your energy into present time. This is your heart chakra. So you should feel this right at your chest. Take a deep breath. Let it all out. Calling energy in and then consciously releasing it, letting it go. And then the heart does what it does, right? It pumps energy. So you might also feel this extending from the heart to the throat, the third eye, the crown. And then again, from the heart to the solar plexus, the sacral, and the root. Oh, the animals love the singing bowls. I don't know if you can see my fun furry friend right here, but ye old grandpa cat enjoys the heart chakra. Okay, I'm gonna turn the music up. Just let me know if that's too loud. I want to get the balance right. Yeah. I think it's good. Can you still hear me over? Let me know if it's going to interrupt you and I can change it. But also try to get yourself in the space where you can't be bothered by it too. You know what I mean? Like, that's part of it too, is a training for you of like, because I'm going to be drumming. Here we go. Okay, another big deep breath. I know, you're here for the magic, so let's do it. You can't sit on my lap for it though. Okay, we don't. Let's go. Let's go. He's good. I know I don't want to kiss you right now. I just put my lipstick on. Okay, love you. Let's go lay down. Good boy. Okay. Bye. So let's welcome in the guides and guardians to be present with us. So calling in first, as we always do, the guides and guardians of the East. That's the element of air. Welcoming in clear sight tonight, welcoming an elevated view, the ability to rise above the challenges that we face. In the east, we connect with the breath. So this is our direction of choice tonight. So we're connecting with our own breath. We're connecting with, in so many ways, we're connecting with the energy of the mother, right? We took our first breath with our mother. And so we're connecting with the planet as our mother. And then we're connecting with the planet's own respiratory system, right? The original breath of the planet. So when this planet started to become dynamic, to have its own life force, it began with breath. And so we're connecting with intention to that primordial breath tonight. So welcoming in the guides and the guardians of the East to help us navigate those spaces. Welcoming in the guides and guardians of the South. This is energy of fire, transformation, transmutation, strength, power, courage in the South. And then welcoming in the guides and guardians of the West. Total Western meditation tonight too, connecting to energies of water, all forms and bodies of water, to the energy of the mother, to the energy of nurturing, abundance, flow, ease, and grace are all in the West. And then we connect in the North, welcoming in the guides and guardians of Earth. This connects us to all of the landforms and masses, connects us to the trees, to the stones and stone people, connects us to all of the ancestors beyond our immediate family. So all generations of grandparents, great-grandparents, and beyond. And then welcoming in guides and guardians of the spirit element, the ether and Akash, the chi, the ki, the prana, the life force that binds and unites the other four elements, activates them, calling that force of life in to our circle tonight with gratitude. And then opening up the entire vertical gateway. So we're welcoming in the guides and guardians of the upper world, the middle world, and the lower world, which includes all planetary ley lines, vortex places and spaces, all layers of the Earth's surface, down to the iron core, and all bones and minerals. And really feel that energy, as we connect in with the lower world. It's such a chance to anchor, to ground in, to feel your own human connection to the center of the planet. Feel your hips kind of expand and imagine that you can send a cord of energy down to that iron core of the planet and loop in around it, connect to it, wrap your legs around it, sink your toes into it. It's a really easy way to get grounded and find kind of instant stability. Helps me in the middle of the night when I wake up, sometimes with racing thoughts. It's like, okay, I'm going to connect to the iron core. I'm going to wind myself around it like a mermaid, right? And just feel the vibration of that core coming through and stabilizing my central nervous system. Okay, so I'm going to put my crystal skull in my lap because it's hard for me to hold stones and drum for you at the same time. And I'm going to put my other two in my bra because I want them at heart chakra level. And again, I can't hold them. But for you, if you want to hold your stones to your heart, if you want to, it kind of depends on what feels good to you right now. If you're laying down, I would just put them like sort of to the side of you, but about heart level. It shows my really deep drum tonight because it always feels ancestral. It always feels like it's connected to the core. And that flower of life symbol on the front is in all of your crystals. It's in the core of the planet. It's in the mantle. It's in the crust. It's in every plant and flower. It's our common human planetary fingerprint. crosses dimensional timelines, crosses species lines, it crosses everything. It's the way we know we're one. So we're activating all of that energy tonight. If you sing, if you tone, I want you to feel welcome to do all of that tonight. I'm going to drum and let you listen to the waves. It's my way of singing to the stones. But we're asking our stones to wake up tonight from their dormant rest. Tonight we seek to activate dormant potential in the stones, in ourselves, in our hearts, places within your heart that need to come to life now to support you. I could see someone doing this journey too to create better circulation in the heart. If you've got blocked veins, blocked arteries, I can see using this visualization as a pathway in to create spaciousness in the heart. And I'm setting the intention for all of us tonight, if it works for you, that every cell in your body, my body, everyone who's here tonight can open, can receive, can breathe. With a purity that our ancestors would have known, but we can only imagine. So that when you breathe through this meditation with me, and I'm going to guide your breath, I'm going to guide your in-breath and your out-breath. As you breathe with me, it's a purer breath. It's a level of oxygenation for your body that's going to heal you on the cellular level. Support your wellness and your healing, your strength. And we're going to set the intention tonight that your heart in particular, every cell in your sweet little heart is going to open, receive, heal. Energy will move freely through your heart during this time. And just like pipes, right? We're going to clear some old pipes, clear some old grief, clear some old sorrow, some old anger, some old envy and resentment and jealousy, some old fear. And we're just going to give it to the breath as the vehicle for its release. To the stromatolite spirits, to the spirits of that ancient, beautiful life form, we call upon you tonight to breathe with us, through us, for us. So I'm going to start our trajectory now. If I start to take you into a breath that you can't keep up with, just go back to your regular breathing. I'm going to be gentle though, okay? But I'm going to guide you to inhale, exhale with me. But if it feels like too much, just go back to your regular breath, ignore me. And I'm going to guide you to do a little bit of pranic breathing just to open you up a little bit tonight. Okay, you have your intention in mind, where and how you want this energy to flow for you. And thank you to the guardian spirits of this beautiful land, these oils and these stones, for being present to us tonight, for partnering with us. So when you're ready, let's go. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Now ready? I'm going to go a little bit faster if you can keep up. If not, just stay with your breath. Let's go. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. 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 Exhale. Now go back to your regular breath. Just let your breath breathe you now. You should be a little lighter, a little floatier. That pranic breath, that looped breath. There's no end, no beginning. Now, while we're in this space, I want you to bring your attention to your intention. What do you want to receive tonight? Where do you need this breath, this plant medicine in the form of these oils, these stones? Is it loss? Is it confusion? Do you ever feel like you've gotten away from where you were trying to go and what you were trying to do, and have this desire to get back to the roots, to the foundation, to the core of who you are? If you do, this would be the perfect moment to reclaim, reconnect, realign to those roots, to your origin story, your point of departure. To the terms of your contract for coming here. Just back. What do you need to remember or hear or know about why you came here, when you came here, that would be helpful to you now? What information or guidance or support? And then see if you can breathe that in. Again, breath tonight is the tool, it's the vehicle. So now, spirits of the breath, we're going to ask you to breathe with us for these next few breaths. So let's go ahead and inhale together and exhale. Do you feel the difference with that breath? Intention shapes the breath. it activates the breath. So let's do that breath again. Again, breathing in your intention. Stay where you are. But if you have your crystals, I want you to hold them for a moment. That's right. So especially your crystal skull. If you brought out a gemstone skull of any kind, doesn't matter what stone it is, and you have it near you, as long as it's within 2 feet of you, it's in your energy field. But I'm going to use my breath very directly on my skull. You don't have to do this part. But I'm going to ask that the spirits of the breath that we're working with tonight, the stromatolite spirits and the spirits of the breath of Australia, of the magic that we know lives in that region, and ask that they partner with us tonight and through the breath activate whatever dormant energy is still in your crystal skull that you need to work with right now. So let's go ahead and inhale together. And then blow your breath across the skull, making sure you cover the third eye of the skull. And if you can and you want to, I want you to bring your skull up and I want you to touch your third eye to its third eye, which creates a transfer of energy. So curious what you're seeing and feeling and downloading. Okay, I'm gonna fish out my crystals. Sorry. So I'm going to experiment. You can do the same thing too, holding stromatolite in my left hand and the rainforest jasper in my right hand. Just feeling the energy. Breath activation on both sides. And now I'm going to switch hands. I'm going to hold the stromatolite in the right hand and the rainforest in the left hand. Again, these are balancing yin-yang energies. So breath activation. And then bring them together. Breath activation. Rainforest jasper was warmer when I held it in my right hand, which is interesting. So I wonder if that's because that's more of the yang hand. So I'm interested in my own, experience with these two. I'm curious if you're noticing a difference between the sides as well. Okay. So just take a moment to see if there's anything else you feel like you need to activate with this breath, since we've been running all of this energy and we've got this primordial sort of life force vibration that we're working with right now. Is there anything else that needs to be activated? This is probably why I wore my pendant. It's always good to reactivate your magician if you're wearing your magician pendant. Feels complete. Feels complete. One more nice deep breath of those oils. Just a little, the heart frequency, not too much, but just enough to be a soft, subtle backdrop to your breath right now. Yep, your magician ring, if you have the earrings on, all of that can be, I mean, the shape itself is an activation, so it's always like, it just gets a little boost. I'm going to grab my big guy real quick before I open my circle. And by big guy, I don't mean my cat. No, I did not step on your tail. It's been a minute. It's a bit dusty. Hi. He's getting a little third eye massage. This stromatolite sits like perfectly right there. Okay, so last downloads, intentions, anywhere you need to send the energy, anything you need to activate, and then we'll bless and release these guides. I'm so glad we did that meditation tonight. It really felt, no, you're slapping me, sir. Watch these shenanigans. You're sitting on the brush. Well, that feels good. He's having his own shamanic journey down there. Okay. Giving thanks and gratitude for the breath tonight, for a reminder of the importance of the practice of connecting to our breath and connecting to the magic and the beauty and the energy of one of the most gorgeous countries, continents in the world. Truly, truly. So let's thank and release the guides and guardians. As I do this, you can start to wiggle fingers and toes and turn your head from side to side. Just gently let your energy come back into the room, into this present moment. Again, just, making a mental note of things you saw. I always like to keep a piece of paper or like my notebook next to me when I do meditations like this, so I can jot down notes and visions, because I always think I'm going to remember it later and then I don't. So it's good just to make a note if there was a symbol that you saw or a sound that you heard or a scent that came across or just something that feels significant for you to note right now. And then thanking and releasing the guides and guardians tonight for such a beautiful container. Releasing the guides and guardians of the lower world, bones and stones, minerals, ley lines, vortex points, and all layers of the earth zone being, from her crust to her core. We release you with gratitude. Thanking and releasing the guides and the guardians of the middle world. And that connects us to all of our collective spirit guides as well. Thanking and releasing the guides and the guardians of the vertical spaces above us, the upper realms. That's the angels, archangels, ascended masters, and light beings from all dimensions. I hope your breath is like mine. Like I feel like I can breathe more deeply. It's a little just clearer. I definitely am sensing that. So I'll be really curious to hear your reflections and your experiences too. So thanking and releasing the guides and the guardians of the North for their grounding, strength, presence, patience, peace. Thanking and releasing the guides and the guardians of the West for emotional healing, renewal, ease, and releasing. Thanking and releasing the guides and the guardians of the South for courage, strength, transformation, and transmutation. And then thanking and releasing the guides and the guardians of the East for clarity, for breath, for new beginnings, new cycles, new doorways, new possibilities, elevated perspectives. And with that, our journey tonight is complete. And some of our friends got a little... This was the last crystal skull I bought and the first crystal skull I bought. And they are separated by about a few decades. Isn't that cool? The alpha and the omega, as it were. Super fun to bring them into the space with you guys tonight. You got to meet my friends. Okay. How are you guys doing? The chat doesn't look like it's chatting. Let me see. I'm turning it to live chat. There we are. Okay, now I can see you. Yay! Do you feel calm? Isn't it interesting? It's just a little, it's subtle, right? I mean, energy work, people always say, like, does energy work, because when they haven't done it, like, is it just going to change everything? Am I going to feel healed instantly? And it's like, no. No. You're just going to feel a little lighter, a little less bothered. Let's put it this way. If something was bothering you before class, when you think about it now, do you feel a little less bothered by it? I do. Like I have a little bit of a lightness of being, or a lightness of connection to my thoughts right now that's a little soothing. You know what I mean? And for me, that's monumental, because a subtle shift like that in your thinking, when you can, the whole goal of meditation is to disconnect you from repetitive thoughts, from old patterns, right? It's just to create a buffer, just to create a little bit of space so that you don't have a thought and a reaction so fast. That's the root of anxiety, right? So the whole goal of any spiritual practice, in my opinion, is to create that, it's like cartilage between your bones, so that the bones aren't rubbing on each other. And for so many of us, the bones are like this, like we have a thought, a reaction, a thought, a reaction. And I see this and I do this, and what does that mean? What's happening next? And it's just like, I just want a little space, right? Ms. Semperfi said, I've been sick with a cough and now I feel so good. I take a deep breath without coughing. Yes. Yay. I love that. Jamie got clear messages. Heather's breathing deeper than with her nebulizer, which is crazy. I mean, as a mom of an asthmatic son, I know exactly what that means. So Debbie said this was heart mending. I'm so thrilled. Linda Lou said, I felt lighter. I'm less bothered. Work was hard today. She was nervous about traveling to LA. It's been a while since she's traveled. Well, I'm really glad you're coming. I'm so stoked. Our event on Friday or Saturday, if you guys are coming, we're doing a free Samhain event. We're sold out now, but there's a wait list in case some people don't show up, because there's always people who last minute stuff comes up. So anyway, I'm really excited we're going to have 100 people there on Saturday night. My tattoo artist is doing tattoos, my real tattoo artist. Zoe's doing henna. Hanale's doing bone throwing. I'm doing Turkish coffee readings. Like, it's going to be so fun. And we're doing our public Samhain ceremony. Can I just tell you how I cannot wait? Like, I wish it was Friday so that tomorrow could be Saturday. So get ready. We're going to have a lot of fun. I got some Empress gin to make blue mimosas, because we're having some champagne, and then I'm going to do little virgin cocktails, little mocktails. So excited. All right. Well, may that breath continue, right? We call that the breath of love, the breath of life. I know. I wish I could fit everybody into one space together, but we're going to start doing more public events. And so now that we have our new home and it's all finished and we're moved in, I want to invite people to come and see and celebrate with us. So I'm looking forward to seeing you and hugging you and kissing you on the face. But thank you for being here tonight. I hope that this was a good gem journey for you. Like I said, I was really excited for tonight for 19 different reasons. I love Australia, everything. Didn't want to leave when I was there. Could totally move there and be very happy. But also the energy of the place. I think that's what it is. Like there is such a vibration to the place. I hope I brought it to life for you. And of course, the stones from Australia are insanely gorgeous. We talked about a few of them tonight, but there are more, and they're magnificent. So, and our next journey next month takes us to North Africa. And these are your stones and your oils. So if you want those, Circe's got the link for you. And that is at sagegoddess.com. Oh, Circe, yes. It's going to be so much fun. I cannot wait. We have so much fun ahead to get excited for, you guys. So that would be wonderful. Palm Desert's one of my favorite places, by the way, Heather. You wouldn't have to twist my arm too much to get me to come see you. Out there. It's magic out there too. All right. Well, I adore you guys. Thank you for being my gem journey companions. I love this class so much. I so look forward to seeing you every month. I really, really do. And you guys are so smart and so knowledgeable. You know what I mean? So I often learn from you and with you, which is so super cool. And like I said, if you want to see what the new programs are about, I would recommend that you register before Friday, right before the end of October, because we started in November. But you can register anytime. So all of that is at sagegoddess.com. When you go to sagegoddess.com, there's a banner that says Living University, and then you just click on that and it'll show you all the things. So there's all kinds of ways to play. So I would love to see you there. You're welcome. All right. So carry on, and then know that tomorrow we have Magical Entrepreneur. If you're in that, it is our graduation ceremony. So excited for your graduation. Wednesday, we have Elder Council and the free Living Embodiment class. So you can kind of see what that's going to be like in the new programs. Thursday is SGTV with Robin from 3 to 5. Again, we've got pieces from our personal collections and all kinds of surprises in there and giveaways and charity item. And then Friday is Halloween, and then Saturday is our big event. And Saturday is our public Samhain ceremony online. So if you can't be there in person, I hope you'll join us virtually. We'll have the live stream set up so you can see all the fun online, and it'll be your way of being there with us in spirit. Right, Paxton? Am I all done teaching? You want to say hi? I love you. Do you have something to say about how handsome and smart and beautiful and wonderful you are? Yeah, I love you very much. Okay. Don't lick my pits in public. Remember, it gets awkward. I love you. You're my favorite dog. And you're my only dog. We love you guys. Have a good night. We'll see you soon.